Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to talk about something we all dream of. That breakthrough moment, that leap from 0 to 1. We see stories everywhere about people who started with nothing and built incredible things. They inspire us, right? They make us believe that we too can make that jump. I want to share a story like that today. A story about a man named Arthur and his relentless pursuit of going from 0 to 1. Arthur was an artist, but not the kind you see in fancy galleries. He was a painter of walls, a decorator. He lived a simple life in a small town, but he had a huge dream. He wanted to create a masterpiece, a single painting so powerful it would be remembered for centuries. He felt this deep, burning desire to leave a mark on the world, to prove that his life meant something more than just painting rental properties beige. For years, Arthur saved every penny he could. He lived frugally, ate simple meals, and wore old clothes until they were threadbare. All his friends were settling down, buying houses, starting families. They'd often tell him, "Arthur, you need to be realistic. This art thing is a nice hobby, but you need a real life." Arthur would just smile and nod, but inside, his resolve only grew stronger. He wasn't just saving money, he was saving up for his one. After 10 long years of sacrifice, he had finally saved enough. He quit his job, packed a small bag, and traveled to the heart of the art world, Florence, Italy. He rented a tiny studio with a skylight that bathed the room in a soft, ethereal glow. This was it. This was where he would create his masterpiece. He bought the finest canvas, the most expensive oils, brushes made from Siberian Kalinsky sable hair, the absolute best of everything. He poured all his savings, his entire life's work, into these materials. He told everyone he met, "I'm here to paint my one." The local artists were intrigued. They'd peek into his studio, expecting to see some grand vision taking shape. But Arthur didn't paint, not a single stroke. He would just sit there for hours, sometimes days, staring at the blank, white canvas. He meditated, he read ancient philosophy. He listened to classical music. He studied the works of the great masters in the Uffizi Gallery. He was preparing himself, he said, aligning his soul with the universe to channel pure, unadulterated genius. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. The pile of money he had brought with him started to dwindle. His landlord grew impatient. The other artists began to whisper, "He's all talk," they'd say. "He's afraid. He's a fraud." The pressure was immense. Arthur felt it closing in on him, this crushing weight of expectation, both from others and, most heavily, from himself. This painting had to be perfect. It had to justify 10 years of sacrifice. It had to be his legacy. It had to be his one. Anything less would be a total failure. One night, unable to sleep, he walked through the quiet streets of Florence. He stood on the Ponte Vecchio, looking at the reflection of the moon on the Arno River. He thought about his life, his dream. He was terrified. What if he tried and failed? What if the painting was just ordinary. The thought was unbearable. All that sacrifice for nothing. He would be a joke, a cautionary tale, the man who gave up everything for a dream and ended up with an empty canvas and an empty wallet. He went back to his studio. The white canvas seemed to mock him in the moonlight. It was a perfect, pristine symbol of infinite potential, but it was also a symbol of his paralysis. His obsession with creating the perfect one had stopped him from creating anything at all. He had spent so long preparing for the destination that he never even started the journey. His money ran out. The landlord, with a heavy heart, evicted him. Arthur packed his unused, expensive supplies and left Florence defeated. He returned to his hometown with nothing. His friends saw him on the street, his shoulders slumped, the fire in his eyes gone. "What happened to your masterpiece, Arthur?" they asked, some with pity, some with a touch of "I told you so." Arthur just shook his head. "I never painted it," he admitted, the words tasting like ash. "I was waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect idea. I was trying to go straight from 0 to 1. He got his old job back, painting walls. One day, his boss sent him to paint a room in the local community center. It was a drab, windowless room where kids from low-income families went for after-school programs. As he prepped the dull grey walls, he saw the children sitting around, looking bored and uninspired. He looked at the cheap, standard-issue paint he was given. It was a world away from his Florentine oils. Then something inside him clicked. He remembered the blank canvas in Florence, a symbol of his failure. But here, these walls were also a blank canvas, an opportunity. He wasn't aiming for a masterpiece. He wasn't trying to create his one. He just wanted to make the room a little brighter for these kids. He started painting. He didn't have his fancy brushes, so he used sponges, rags, even his fingers. He painted a vibrant, whimsical forest on one wall with talking animals and trees that touched a swirling, magical sky. On another wall, he painted a deep, sprawling ocean filled with fantastical sea creatures. He forgot about perfection. He forgot about legacy. He just painted. He poured his heart, his imagination, and all his years of suppressed creativity onto those 4 walls. He wasn't thinking, he was just doing. The children were mesmerized. They started gathering around, their eyes wide with wonder. They pointed at the colorful birds and the smiling whales. When he finished, the room was transformed. It wasn't just a room anymore. It was a world of imagination. The kids were laughing, pointing, telling stories about the scenes on the walls. Arthur hadn't created his one. He had created something much more valuable. He had created hundreds of small moments of joy. He had made a tangible difference. A local newspaper reporter heard about the room and wrote a small article. That led to another job, then another. Soon, Arthur was being hired by schools, hospitals, and libraries all over the region to transform their dull spaces into worlds of wonder. He never became a world-famous artist whose work hung in the Uffizi. He never made millions, but his life was full. He was creating every single day. He wasn't stuck at zero anymore. He realized